Arcanum of Steamworks and Magick Obscura is a game I really never heard about until Tim Kaine talked about it. Tim is the creator of Fallout and runs a YouTube channel, and he's just really a great guy who I deeply respect. Tim was talking about his work on Arcanum, and also some other people from the first Fallout worked on it, so I had to check it out. Being an older game, without a lot of fixes, it kind of runs like shit. So I used a patch that not only fixed some bugs for me, but also let me run the resolution in a 16:9 aspect ratio and use windowed mode. Other than the fact Tim worked on the game and that it was an RPG, I didn't know much else about it. Arcanum is a fantasy world, but it also is set within the Industrial Revolution, which makes it stand out as unique. What that basically means is that you have orcs and elves and magic and such, but you also have trains and telegrams and electricity. I can't say I'm crazy about the setting, but it's very unique, and I for sure wanted to try it. My first attempt ended in a colossal failure. I tried to wield a gun, but also be somewhat good in melee as well, just in case. Maybe I could have done this eventually. And while maybe eventually I could have done this, trying to be good at both at once ended up making me so bad at both, I was basically useless. So for a second try, I just went with melee, so I didn't have to spend money on bullets all the time. I also turned down the difficulty so I could have an easier experience learning everything. And after beating the game, I would say I probably should have kept the difficulty the same. The problem was my first character build and not the difficulty. But anyway, there's really a lot to learn here. You got your regular skills, sure, but then you also have a technology tree filled with tons there, and a magical tree filled with a huge list of spells. In this world, magic and technology don't mix. In my opinion, they can, but for the sake of the way the world works, they don't mix. Wars have been fought over this, people have died, shopkeepers fight over this, trains won't let you ride first class if you're too powerful in magic, etc. So I went with magic, and let me tell you, I made it to level 50, which is the max level, and because I was made so melee focused, I only had like 8 spells, which in most games would be a good number of them, but in Arcanum, that's fucking nothing. It's a small percentage. Meaning if I ever went back and did a second playthrough as a magic-focused character, I would still not have fully experienced the technology side. This not only makes for a lot of replayability, but is also pretty cool for role-playing a character. Gameplay-wise, it plays like classic Fallout, kind of. Combat can be set for real time, but I set it up as turn-based because I'm gonna have it play kind of like classic Fallout. I've actually kind of grown to like this combat style. I never thought I would like it before, but I've kind of grown to like it, and not just to like it, but to sometimes prefer it. You also basically have to play Tetris with your inventory, and I don't hate it, but I don't think I'd ever pick this style. Story-wise, I was attacked in a blimp, and the blimp crashed, and I am a half-orc man, and upon crashing, I meet a man named Virgil, who's played by Reno Romano, who is constantly following me from old video game to old video game. So far on this channel, the ones I've reviewed, he's been in Spider-Man 1 and 2, he is Spider-Man, and he's been in Tenchu 2, he is, Rikimaru, I believe is the name. He's also Kyle Katarn in the Mysteries of the Sith DLC for Star Wars Dark Forces 2. And here he is, once again, as Virgil. And you can always recognize his voice. It's very recognizable. It never changes.
A telegram sent by Elder Joachim. I don't know what to make of it. It seems that he thinks it's very important to find out why these men are trying to kill you. Much more important than being here to protect you.
So Virgil's a shithead who recently joined the Panari religion, trying to turn his life around. He knows very little of the new religion so far, but we apparently just fulfilled a prophecy by crashing down in wings of fire. So he joins us as he believes we are the reincarnation of a dude named Nasrudan. From here we travel around solving mysteries and doing various quests. Race-wise, it's kinda what you expect for fantasy. Elves living in forests, dwarves living underground, etc. Racism is abundant, and as a half-orc, 99% of the people I talk to open conversations by insulting my race. Which leads to three options. Either I outright kill them, I suck up to them until they stop being racist, or I leave. So most of the time, I just end up sucking up to them so I can actually see the quests. But I'm not gonna lie, every now and then I just killed them because that shit gets old real fast. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't me arguing that the game shouldn't have racism. I'm totally fine with it existing. In fact, I like my games to be more grounded and have more real life feeling problems. And racism is one of those real life feeling problems. I'm just more saying I want to kill every NPC, because instead of saying hello, they say shit like, "I ain't got no time for your kind, half-breed." Shit like that. Like, what the fuck, man? One of the only non-racist people is only kind to me because she wanted to have an orgy. Or should I say an orgy? But let's actually dive deeper into this because I fucking feel like it. In the game, orcs are presented as bad. The character creation sheet even says if you are picking an orc, then the orc forced himself upon your mother. Orcs also eat some of their babies, and they tend to cause crime and try to mug travelers. They are generally seen as less than and are treated as slaves. Now I know fantasy races can be black and white like that, right? I could be wrong, but I believe the Lord of the Rings orcs are literally a twisted, evil version of elves. They are literally evil, right? But this is a different world, and I'm going to argue in favor of orcs. First off, well, orcs commit crimes, and you could say that that's why they are always in the poor areas, because the rich want to stay away from all that crime. I would combat that by saying perhaps the reason they commit all these muggings and crimes is because they live within these poor areas, so it is hard for them to get the money. Not only is it hard for them to get the money, but people, as I have already seen, are extremely racist to them, and lots of them are used for cheap labor and sometimes servants or slaves. Same thing happens to ogres too. So let me ask you something. If you are so poor and there aren't a lot of jobs that are servant, slave, or hard manual labor for barely any money, wouldn't you also consider crime? I know I've been real poor before, and when the going gets tough, crime very much seems like an option, because it starts to feel like your only option. I mean, one of the biggest reasons to join a gang or something is to make money fast, to get out of living in a bad situation. There just isn't a lot of honest work that can actually help them out there. Why work 80 hours, hard labor, in a factory for some racist human for 3 gold when you can rob that same racist human for 300 gold in less than an hour? You know, on top of that, orcs are treated as less than human, and throughout our real-world history, this is what has been used to justify our own mistreatments for racism and slavery of people. It's a way to see others as different so you can justify your actions. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter what people it has been done to. All of them have been equal to everyone else. These orcs are not a mindless, evil, killing race. They speak, they organize, they cook, they clean, they care for each other. When I would traverse the world, they would pop out to mug me and then realize I was one of them and let me go. And, like I said, they speak. And yes, well, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. I've met people in my life so stupid, it's hard to believe they're the same species. But yet we won't give an orc a chance because he is green? Not only can they speak, but I bet you if an orc was given some of the same treatment as humans, they could be just as civilized. By the way they are treated, it breeds crime. And the people only see them as criminals and treat them as such, which also breeds more crime. Hell, even the thing saying that my father forced himself upon my mother, we don't even know whether that's true. I'm just supposed to believe that because he's an orc, that it wasn't consensual? We don't know that. Your Honor, what I'm trying to say here is there may be more to orcs that you think. I'm asking you to give them a chance. I can't defend them eating babies. That's pretty fucking weird. But hell, Your Honor, I once hooked up with this half-orc dominatrix, and she was so sweet and amazing, and I'm glad they had an actual dominatrix in a game that wasn't just a joke or a villain, like 'bout fucking time. But my point is, Your Honor, she was working a job, and orcs can work jobs. If we treat them like citizens, if we help them escape poverty, I'm sure plenty of orcs can fit right in, but you have to give them a chance. Also, Your Honor, education should be available to the public. For some reason, the library costs 1,500 gold for a membership, and that is outrageous. And even after that, they didn't have the book I want. What a load of horsecock, Your Honor. Hell, we even have a all-evil race. They're the Dark Elves. They believe they are superior to everyone, so they're basically the elf version of a Nazi, except for some of them, because I talked to some of them, and, well, most of them were pretty racist. Some of them were like, hey, maybe everything I've been brought up to believe is actually wrong, and we are equals. Can you imagine that? I guess what I'm asking, Your Honor, is to consider if this orc problem is a nature problem or a nurture problem. Anyway, my side tangent has gone on long enough, let me get back to my review. Graphically, this is not a very amazing for 2001, but it still kind of looks like a classic Fallout game. Writing-wise, it isn't too bad, but it does need work in a lot of areas. It just kind of needs to be tidied up, and I wish it didn't have so many references to other things. I noticed Star Wars and Monty Python. Sound design, it's a pretty mixed bag. The music is pretty, but I feel like certain tracks get played too much. And the enemy noises are abysmal. They're so fucking bad. I'll show you, but I'll turn it down so they don't make your ears bleed the way they did to mine.
That's the way to show those bastards. I mean, good hit, sir.
Some quests I remember off the top of my head is saving Virgil. I guess he was such a shit in the past that they killed his brother, so he turned his life around, but then he went after his killers, so we go after them to save Virgil from them. And then we resurrect Virgil, who apparently had to die there, and I didn't realize that because I kept loading and trying to save him again and again, but he kept dying. But then I did it. I killed them all, he stayed alive, and then when he went to use his healing, he died, so he just has to die anyway. He died of nothing. But yeah, once you resurrect him, he is either very thankful and continues trying to be a good person, or if you were a shit, you will have influenced him enough that when you resurrect him, he'll go back to his old ways of being a shit. There are a lot of other followers you can have, but my build only allowed one, so I just stuck with Virgil the whole game. There are also quests like saving this woman from an arranged marriage and giving a false fortune teller a crystal ball, etc. There's really a ton of side quests, and I probably only did like 80% of them. Main quest wise, we realize I'm not Nasruddin, and we find out that because we actually meet him, and he isn't dead, so how can I be his reincarnation? And of course this is a big shock to Virgil, who just pledged his life to a religion to try to be better, only to find out that that religion was a lie. We then go fight the big bad Aranox, only to find out that actually he's really sorry for his crimes and his racism, and that he isn't a big bad at all. And it's really a dude named Kerrigan who wants to end all life. And thinking about all this from Virgil's perspective is actually kind of funny. I'm sure he will need a lot of therapy after this, and he will forever have trust issues. Anyway, Arcanum's pretty good. I don't think I'm in love with it the way I am with Fallout, but I still had a good time on my second attempt, and it is worth a play. Just try to patch the game if you do.